Hello and welcome to Game Objective. My name is Brad Glasgow, and what you are seeing on your screen is Siege of Centauri, a new tower defense game from Stardock, set in their Ashes of the Singularity universe. Now, before I begin with this preview, I have to get full disclosure out there. Stardock is one of, if not the only game developer I know of in Michigan, which is where I'm from. In fact, I used to live just a few miles up the road from their headquarters, so I kind of consider them somewhat to be a hometown developer, and I personally root for their success, especially as I hope to see more game development outside of the typical few areas where we get our games. That said, while I hope they do well, I am not their typical customer. In fact, I've not really played any of their games before because I'm not really a strategy game player, and the games they produce are strategy games. I am, however, a fan of tower defense games, so I jumped at the chance when I saw that they were giving the press an opportunity to take a look at Siege of Centauri. As I mentioned, the game is set in their Ashes of the Singularity universe, but if you're like me and you haven't played Ashes of the Singularity, that's okay. There's not much exposition, nor is there really any need for any, as you have swarms of bad guys that come to destroy your bases, and your goal is to stop them. Easy enough. There's an archive section in the menu if you'd like to know more. The game itself, it's mostly standard tower defense with a couple of twists. You place towers on the terrain to defeat the enemy onslaught. There are multiple towers available, from the standard cheap cannon to the much more expensive artillery, which was my favorite. The turrets require metal, which you naturally gain throughout the game. Certain levels will have buildings that will give you metal faster, and those buildings will of course fall under attack as well as your base. There is another resource, radioactives, from which you can call orbitals. These are special bombardments that you can drop from your ship, which is overlooking the battlefield. And the big one in particular here is a mech kind of a thing, which really kicked ass. There's also an overload tactical that makes your towers shoot much faster. They have done a couple of interesting things with support towers. There's one tower that will collect metal from fallen enemies. Then there's a tower that will increase the damage output of the other towers in the area. Your score in the game will determine when you get access to new towers, and it will also allow you to upgrade the towers you have for extra metal. And perhaps the main draw to the game is the sheer number of enemies. The tech that they've brought in from Ashes of the Singularity means that they can put out an absolutely massive number of enemies, and you'll see that in the massive swarms that come your way. It's quite a sight to see your towers flashing lightning and hurling bombardments on hundreds of enemies. Of course, you can zoom in for a better look if you wish. The game launched in early access on Tuesday the 16th, and Stardock stresses that this is a beta, meaning that they are actively working on balance and other issues, and they want to hear from the players. Now, currently there are 4 missions available, with the next 2 missions opening up over the next couple of days, and then other missions opening up every couple of days after that. In the press version that I received late last week, there were 7 missions available. I got through 6 of those missions, but the 7th was super tough, and I wasn't able to beat it. So I suspect they'll balance that one out a little bit by the time it launches. As far as impressions go, I have to say I really dig what I've seen so far. As I said, I am a fan of tower defense games, and this game really scratched that itch. One of the biggest compliments I can give a game is when I'm not playing it, when I take a break and I run out to the store or something, do I think about that game and what I could have done differently? Or do I want to get back into that game and try that next level? And that is definitely there for me with Siege of Centauri. As for early criticisms, one of the annoying things about the game is that any graphical changes you make in the settings requires a restart. Also, I did see some frame rate slowdowns at times with the press version, though when it updated to the early access version on Tuesday, that seemed to fix it and make things move a whole lot faster. Overall, though, I have to say the graphics were really impressive, with lots of pretty lights and explosions. I also wish you could move the map with the WASD keys. Right now you can move with the arrow keys, though the scroll kind of slides and it doesn't come to a stop when you stop scrolling. I found the best way to move is with the right mouse button. In the future, according to their press materials, they are going to have an equip screen where they will have lots of towers available, but you'll only be able to equip like 10 or so of them on a map. And by the time they finish early access, which they hope to do by the end of the summer, they plan to have player missions in the game, where you will be able to make your own map and pick the enemy waves. So that should increase replayability by quite a bit. They say that they eventually want to let people make their own towers and enemies, but they say that will take more work. And finally, perhaps the best feature about the game, it's only $10. Siege of Centauri is now available in early access on Steam. If you're like me and you're a fan of tower defense games, I think it's definitely worth picking up, especially at that price. Until next time, this has been Brad Glasgow with Game Objective. Thanks for watching.